Hey guys and girls, Patrick here, also known as Snowy. I said it just the other way around in the previous video, and here I am again, responding to a new video just put out by CC, and I was thinking like, oh interesting, in this case he's talking about vanishing point of light. Interesting. So I thought to myself like, okay, let's respond to it, no science, no number crunching, no formulas, nothing at all. So I'm going to down my amp a little bit because I have to play this video, and I pause it when I'm going to respond. So let's just start, okay? Shall we?
I'm sorry about the fake war that's being implemented for all of us to enjoy.
He's talking about a fake war. All the explosions we are seeing in the news, all the attacks we are seeing in the news, the current situation that is going on in Ukraine, all that stuff. And I'm not even talking about YouTube, but there are also several other platforms where you can watch more nasty stuff, like, for example, on Telegram, for example, or on Patreon or whatsoever. I mean, many of these YouTubers do have that kind of stuff. You think this is really fake? You really think it's fake? I mean, come on, this is not fake. It's like there are real wars going on there, and it's like terrible. Look at pictures and videos from cities like Mariupol, for example. They're completely wiped off the map. Or cities like Bakhmut in Ukraine as well, completely blown up to smithereens. So you cannot say that there is not a war going on, CC. That's a very bold statement. Okay, let's continue.
An airstrike. You know what an airstrike is? Yes, that's right. That's when they fly over and they drop bombs. That's right.
An airstrike is not necessarily dropping bombs. An airstrike can also be something like launching a rocket, a missile from a remote location, even from a submarine, an airplane, a tank, a launcher, whatsoever, even a man-pad or something else. You can shoot with everything, that is basically coming through the air, going through to the target, and hits it. And if it's going through the air, well, then you call it an airstrike, and it does not really matter where it comes from. It is an airstrike. So I don't think that there is anything, really unusual to say about that. Why you think it's so weird, to be an airstrike. So let's follow up what you have to say, right?
Yeah, you see, now the bombs should be landing on the roof of these apartment buildings. Yes, but they're not. They're landing below them. And the explosion is coming from the first floor or the ground floor. How is that possible?
How is that possible? Well, I don't know about you, Chris, but many buildings do have space between them. And many of these guided rockets, they are targeted towards a structure or building, and they are being shot from far away, and coordinates are being inputted, and yes, those rockets can slam into just the ground floor or the first floor of a building. That is possible. It is possible to hit a building on the low side because there is space in between buildings. So you say like those bombs can only fall on top of the roofs of buildings. That's like of a World War II way of thinking, like, when they flew over Germany, for example, over Hamburg, when they just dropped the bombs from above. Those were, real airstrikes in the literal sense of like bomb droppings, carpet bombing, for what matter. But these days, all those weapons, all those missiles, they are being guided either through GPS, laser, well-known coordinates, even landmarks. And these missiles are smart. They have onboard computers. Those computers, and there are cameras even on board those missiles who can even recognize land features to avoid those, for example, and identify the target that they need to hit. To attack. Attack to hit. Well, anyway. So, but yes, there is space between the buildings, and most of the time the rockets also come in from an angle like maybe this, 45 degrees. They're not flying, in a straight line. They, though, are going like, with a trajectory like that, fly through buildings, and often they come even down even straighter, down like that, maybe under an angle of 60 degrees, and they hit the first floor or the ground floor. So that's not impossible. There is even a video where we see that the so-called headquarters of Hamas was being targeted by the Israeli forces. I mean, I think it happened just yesterday. And if you look at that video closely, I don't think it's here on YouTube, and I won't post it either. You can find it somewhere on Telegram or whatsoever. But yeah, you can see that building is being targeted, from the below end, so with the sole purpose of making it collapse. Nothing unusual about it. So that's the explanation, Chris, why a building is being targeted on the lower side, and that it's simply possible because of there is space between buildings. It's not like that all these buildings are jam-packed together. Now, I do agree with you. If those buildings were all jam-packed together, then it would be more difficult. But still, that building would still have like a front end and maybe also a back end. And, with the rockets these days, you can hit them from any side. So, yeah, nothing really unusual about that. So, okay, let's continue. Let's see what we've got more. Shall we?
Okay, let's get into light. Okay. Apparently, light can be projected from 10 billion, that's with a B, guys, okay, not with an M, a B, billion light years away. That's how.
Okay, first of all, light is not being projected from 10 billion light years. Since the Big Bang, the universe has been expanding. Expanding. Space-time itself also expands. Now, what happens is like eventually, light being emitted from something that is near the edge of space, known space at least, visible space, is being sent out to us, but at the same time, because space is expanding, that light takes more time to reach us. So eventually, time passes, that light takes a lot of time to get to us, and then maybe 10 billion years later, then, it finally reaches us with a very high redshift. That's the way how we calculate the distance to the object, by looking at the redshift, or also known the Doppler effect. You might have heard it yourself, the Doppler effect. Ambulance is coming your way, it makes a certain sound like da-doo, da-doo, and when it passes by, then the whole tone of the ambulance is shifting from da-doo, 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 changes. So, yeah, light is not emitted from 10 billion light years. It has been already emitted from closer by, but due to the expansion of the universe, it has been slowed down, basically. Not the light itself, but the light is moving through the medium called space. And the space is expanding, and the light is moving through it. So, let's say you are on top of a train that goes that way with 100 kilometers per hour, and you could magically run 150 kilometers per hour the other side, then relative to the ground, you would only move 50 kilometers per hour to that side. So that's sort of the reasoning why we see light like that. But no, it's not emitted from 10 billion light years. But I think you will say more about that, so let's check it out.
Okay, all right, all right. So, what is the vanishing point of light?
You asked the question, what is the vanishing point of light? Well, that's a very, very interesting question, actually. Well, let's see what your, further question is regarding, the vanishing point of light, because I'm curious about what is your further question about it. So, let's see.
What is it? When does light actually disappear from your eyesight? Can anybody answer that question?
When light disappears from your eyesight, well, I just told you, when the universe, our universe is expanding. It's expanding. The size of the universe is actually bigger than the age of the universe because of the expansion rate of space-time itself. Now, how the whole thing works, I don't know. I'm not a scientist either. I only can tell, space is expanding because Hubble was proving this by looking at galaxies and see hey, wait a second, these things are moving away from us. They show a certain redshift, and the redshift was in correlation with the expansion of the universe, and also a calculation of distance was made by using this so-called Hubble constant. I think it was around 74 kilometers per second. So at a given time, and it works cumulative, yeah. So at a given moment, when space-time, cumulative is expanding, at this point, then it will exceed the speed of light. So everything that is behind the visible part of the universe, it can emit light, from here, but if this light is emitted this way, but the universe is expanding further, faster than the speed of light, then the light from all the stars and all the galaxies that are behind the visible part of the universe, which is said to be around 46 billion in a big sphere around Earth, cannot be seen. Only when time passes, then this visible part will grow slightly because, the universe gets older. So eventually that time, that light gets the time to reach us. But there's a limit. Then eventually light cannot be seen anymore because the universe is expanding faster. Space-time is expanding faster than the light of those objects can get to us. So you could say that is the vanishing point of light. But I think there is something else that you are going to say, so let's see what you are going to say there.
Anyone? Because my perspective of light from a flashlight, if you go and I'm looking at you with that flashlight and you're walking away from me a couple of blocks, all of a sudden the light vanishes. Okay. So you're on board with me on that, right?
Okay, this is like something you have to try, actually, Call a friend, take that flashlight, and let the friend use the flashlight, and then take a few steps away, back, with the flashlight pointing at you, of course in the evening so you can see it, and you basically say in 2 blocks you cannot see the flashlight anymore. That seems very unlikely because 2 blocks, and if you have a solid flashlight and your friend would just step back, that flashlight will still be visible. It's a test you can just do. More cheaper you cannot get. It's cheaper than just launching a camera into space to prove the Earth is either flat or like a globe. So the flashlight thing is, it's something you can prove, but I believe no, it will not disappear. Why would it disappear? Unless the flashlight is very dim, if it's very dim. But 2 city blocks And if there's no other light source available, if there are not other lights interfering, then, it's just very dark outside. Yeah, you could still see that flashlight. I'm 100% sure of it. Go try it, Chris. Go try it, Chris. So let's see what you else have to say.
So where does light actually disappear in space? Is it infinite?
Well, depends on how you view it. I mean, light eventually goes out of sight because there is like sort of a limit, because space is expanding faster than the speed of light. And then your question about space itself, whether it's infinite or finite, that's still up to debate. It depends on how you view it, how you think about space. Me personally, I think space, the total space, all space that there is, to my opinion, infinite. Because I don't see the universe as being, having a shape and then, suddenly stop somewhere. I mean, that would be very, very weird, that would be very weird. Now, it can be folded into each other, but still, if that would be the case, then and if it would have a certain shape, you could still ask the question like, okay, what is outside that? So yeah, for me, I think personally that space, the universe, is infinite. Maybe space itself not. Space could be just like water in a swimming pool. So that space is like a product of the Big Bang, and the Big Bang is a transformation from a certain element with which we do not know what the composition is, and that the universe always have existed, and that space as we know it is just a transformation from one entity to another. But that is just a theory of mine, so don't pin on that. Whether space really is infinite or finite is difficult to say, so that question nobody really can answer you. So but yeah, the light will disappear after it reaches the visible part of space, then yeah. So okay, 30 seconds of your video remaining. Let's see what you still have to say.
You're telling me that you can see light from billions of light years away? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, of course it makes sense. Why would it not make sense? If space is expanding, and if you take enough time and eventually at near the edge of space, and I say edge of visible space, the space itself is expanding with, let's say, 290,000 kilometers per second, and light is emitted by 300,000 kilometers per second, it will only move towards us with 10,000 kilometers per second. So, and imagine it has to then cross a distance of 10 billion or 13 billion light years. Yes, then it makes sense that it takes a long time for getting here. Now, you just look into both Doppler effect and redshift, and maybe also Hubble constant. They all are intertwined with each other, because that's like the way how the measures are calculated. Like I said, I am not a calculated guy, I'm not a professor or whatever, but I have a kind of semi-knowledge how it sort of works. So yeah, it is possible. You can still see these things, but do not forget, if you look like at a galaxy which is 15, if a galaxy is like 12 billion light years away, then you see it how it actually looked like 12 billion years ago. The same goes for our sun. If you look at our sun today, or today or tomorrow, whatever, you see it how it was roughly 8 minutes ago. If you look at the moon, which is like over 300,000 kilometers away, it takes roughly 1.3 seconds from the light, the reflective light from the moon, to reach us. So the moon, you see like how it was 1.3 seconds ago. And if you are really, really very precise, and you're watching now this video, me responding to you, the light coming from your monitor, even that takes like a fraction, a millisecond of a millisecond to reach your retina. So you're even looking me in the past. I mean, even though it's like a microsecond. So yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
When I'm just talking about 2 city blocks on a flashlight when it vanishes away. I thank you for subbing. I thank you for viewing my videos. Let me be a part of your life.
Okay, so that was Chris's video. I thought he would end up with something else dramatic, but apparently not. Yeah, this was also sort of a quite informative thing, and in my previous video I was thinking like, well, maybe he would listen to somebody who is not acting cocky or acting like he is like a professor. No, he's just like a common person, like I am, without any professor degree, without any PhD. I only went to college. I'm only interested in science. That's it. I look at it, I read about it, and I'm interested in it, and also theorize about, like for example the size of space, how far does it stretch, infinite or not, and yeah, those are very interesting questions. So, but yeah, I can advise you to do the same, and take your beliefs and re-evaluate them, and maybe you can change your mind. Yeah. Also about flat Earth. I mean, I did not hear you talk about flat Earth in this video, but I know you do believe in flat Earth. So maybe I will look up one of your videos about flat Earth, because that's a subject that is really very interesting to to talk about, and also to be realistic about. So. Okay, CC, I will let it go here, and I would say until next time, and I would say like, peace, brother.